Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching 90 Day Fiancé. Let's get to it. As I always say, everything I'm saying is completely speculative based on very little information and should be taken as such. All right, let's watch the video.
Right? Is the first thing you think, I want to try to have sex with this person. It's no different with us.
That's not the priority.
Yeah. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of married couples who do exactly what we're doing.
Okay, so Tarik is trying to educate the group, and the group seems to be judging the situation. They seem to not understand polyamory, which is totally normal. Most people don't understand ethical non-monogamy, consensual non-monogamy. Let's continue watching.
Aware of that.
The term is polyamory. Let me finish, please. And it is absolutely possible that two married people can have a girlfriend or boyfriend of their choosing and still absolutely have a loving, moral, upstanding marriage like everyone else.
Great. I'm really encouraged that Tarik is using the language of polyamory, that he is speaking the language of polyamory, which is fantastic. I was worried about them because in polyamory, you have to have a lot of conversations with each other. You have to investigate yourself a lot. You have to say, what do I want? How am I oriented? Do I want just one person? Do I want more than one person? How do I want that to look? How do I feel about my partner being with other people? How many other people are we going to be involved with? How does that going to look like? Are they going to live in the house with us? Are they not going to live in the house with us? Or is it just going to be dating? Is it just going to be, flings? Or is it going to be full-on long-term relationships for the rest of our lives? And so if he is using the words of polyamory, and he seems to be expanding a little bit more, then he has that framework to explore, because that's always the key, is you have to explore. Because once you break into polyamory, the options increase quite a bit. And you have to be able to know what you want and be able to communicate it with each other. So it seems like they're going in that direction. That was always a worry that I had, because they seem to be treating it like they're just inviting a third person into their relationship without sussing out the details. I worried that for Hazel, she just wanted her own person just privately, and Tarik didn't. But it looks like they're working that out. And it looks like a lot of the panel, a lot of the other cast members are not approving of that, which is really common. I don't blame them. It's the common perspective on this. I've even had clinicians who will tell me polyamory never works because of attachment and jealousy, and there's a lot of ignorance around polyamory. Now, is polyamory for everyone? No, absolutely not. I don't want to be a polyamorous. I'm a monogamous person. I am with my wife. I don't want to be with anyone else, and I know that about myself. And for some people, they're not oriented that way, but some people are, and they can make it work. But there has to be a lot of talk, and also there's a lot of stigma that they have to fight against as well, which doesn't help.
Oh my gosh, really?
I'm sorry, that's not normal.
She likes it, I like it, so we do what we want.
So I'm predicting at some point one of the cast members is going to say, what about the children? And a lot of research has looked into this, and I have treated polyamorous families with children in the home. And I've worked with the children, I've worked with the parents, and all the adults. And my the research findings and my findings clinically have shown that polyamorous families have all the same problems as monogamous families. Because we all understand that monogamous, parents with monogamous parents, they have, some of those families have problems, a lot of problems, and some of those families don't have much problems at all. Polyamorous families the same. Some polyamorous families have a lot of problems, and some of them are functioning really well, and the parenting and the children are doing really well. So there's a lot of variability there, and research shows, and anecdotally, clinically, polyamorous families don't universally have worse problems than monogamous families. But I'm guessing that's going to come up. And I get it, you worry about things, but believe me, I've worked with these families. They make it work. One of the things that the kids would say to me is they would say, well, for me, in the well-functioning polyamorous families, teenager, say, 15, she might say, well, okay, from my perspective, I have my dad and I have my biological mom, And then there's this other mom that lives, she's kind of like an aunt, but I call her, by her first name or something. And I know that my dad and her are in a romantic relationship, but I don't want to hear about it because it's just not what I'm in. But she does parent me sometimes, but she's more like a friend to me. And really, when I go outside to school and I have to talk to my friends, I just say I have a mom and I have a dad. I don't talk about my other mom because I don't want to confuse people. But I know in my house it works fine. It's totally fine. So the kids adjust. They make it work. Families make it work.
We still communicate until now. Yeah.
But now, there's clarification that needs to be.
Like how recently now?
Today.
We need to clarify here.
So this doesn't surprise me, given what Tarik has done in the past. He has broken boundaries and, I'm just going to say it, betrayed Hazel's trust in the past. So I guess he's continued to do that. Unless there's an explanation, let's hear.
We've kind of worked out the problems. She's not going to be in a relationship with us anymore, and we're kind of like friends now.
I don't know what he knows.
I don't think Hazel considers Minty a friend, Tarik.
Yeah, so Hazel just said she wants you to delete the number. So
Okay, so there's a lot of different possibilities here. One is that the pro-Tarik point of view is that Tarik is like, look, Hazel, she's a friend of mine, and nothing's ever going to happen between me and Minty, but I still want to communicate with her sometimes. There is nothing wrong with Tarik wanting that. Now, I know a lot of people would say, he's up to no good. Maybe, but he's also possibly just wants to be friends. There's a lot of people who are friends with their exes, and it's purely innocent, and they just want to be friends. They like the person. It's a friendship. It's supportive, whatever. And so he asked Hazel, is it okay if I remain friends? And Hazel's like, well, I don't want you to be friends with her, but if you have to be friends with her, I want to be able to see all your communication. So Tarik is like, okay, great. We compromise. We'll do a group chat thing every time I communicate with her. You'll see everything, and everything will be fine. And for Hazel, she's like, well, it's not optimal, but it's better than him sneaking around behind my back, and so, we make it work. So that's the pro-Tarik point of view. A anti-Tarik point of view is that he is scheming to get back with Minty, and this is his way of pressuring Hazel to deal with that. Let's see if we get more information.
Oh, not yet? Oh, that's just dream. I got you, man. You're just dreaming about that.
Yeah, we met in person for a weekend, right? All three of us, but we never were intimate, no.
Why would you meet it in this case? I don't understand. What's going on? Why? Why would you meet it if you never have that?
So I will answer on behalf of polyamorous people. They will say it's not just about sex. When you meet someone for a date, you're on your Tinder or whatever, you're not just looking for sex, right? You're looking for companionship, for a relationship. You might also be looking for sex, or sometimes you're not looking for sex much at all. You're looking for romantic, in-depth companionship. So the same goes for polyamorous relationships sometimes. Now, certainly some people will look for a third person or additional people to have sex with only, but sometimes you're looking for companionship. So for Tarik and for Hazel, I don't know, that they were visiting, the three of them, to work on their companionship, to work on their romantic relationship together, to work on their cohesion, to see if they actually gelled as a three-person polycule, as they call it. A molecule, but it's a polycule. And maybe things didn't go well or whatever. It sounds like it didn't. And for Hazel, she was like, there's something about this person I just don't like. She feels like a threat. I don't like the way the two of you are really hitting it off with each other. So I'm calling it off. It's a deal breaker for me. That happens sometimes in polyamorous relationships. But it's all in the communication and everything. So the cast members are reacting the way that people typically react, which is it's all about sex, which it sometimes is, but it isn't always. That it's disgusting, there's something wrong with it.
I'm never going to do that.
Tarik, did you want to have an intimate relationship with Minty?
Yes.
No, I mean, Nah, because listen, that is not why we met. We didn't meet like to have sex.
Usually men meet women for having sex with.
So this is, I'm hoping in 10, 20 years, we will look back at this scene and realize just how oppressive and stigmatizing this is and unfair it is. In the past, I'm old enough to remember that similar stigmatization was imposed on gay and lesbian people, that it was all about sex, that it was disgusting, that it doesn't work for the children. And now in our mainstream American society, we have moved on, thank God. I never thought that we would, but we have. There's still a sizable amount of bigots, but the majority understands, it seems. And I don't believe any of the cast members would stigmatize gay or lesbian relationships. But with polyamorous relationships, we're still in the dark ages. We still look at it's all about sex, it's discussing you're weird, and they're exhibiting that attitude, which I get because that's the way society has taught them. And I'll even tell you that myself, I was similar. When I was younger as a therapist, I didn't know about polyamory, maybe at all. And when I first started hearing about it, I thought, wait, how does that work? What about the jealousy? What about the kids? You know, I had these questions because there's a lot of societal messages that monogamy is the only way. But it isn't the only way, and research has shown that, and my clinical experience has shown that. So in the beginning, I had a very similar reaction, but the more I talked to polyamorous people, the more I talked to experts, the more I read, the research I looked into. Actually, this is something I should say, is that in the very beginning of this podcast, 13 years ago, one of the very first guests, if not maybe the first guest we had on the podcast, was Alina Gabosh, who was a local advocate for sex positivity, polyamory, BDSM, kink, this sort of thing. She recently passed away, actually, sadly, but she was a wonderful advocate for sex positivity in Seattle. There was the Center for Sex Positive Culture, which is a major organization in the world that is still in operation. And she was on the podcast, and it's still on YouTube, actually. You can just type in polyamory in my channel, and you'll probably be able to find it. And from the questions I ask in that episode from 2008, I cringe when I hear the way I ask the questions because it's coming from an ignorant place. I'm in between where they're at and where I am now. And it takes a while to get out of that space of the propaganda around monogamy. Now, a lot of the propaganda around monogamy is in good faith, meaning that there are messages that say you shouldn't cheat on your partner and that having sex with someone else threatens your relationship. It often does. And when people think about you being with another person, the first heuristic, the first thing they think about is, well, this is cheating, isn't it? That this is going to cause, I know that cheating causes problems, and what you guys are talking about is you're basically just cheating on each other. But that's not what's happening. It's a completely different mindset. It's a completely different way of looking at relationships, and it can work. It can fall apart in the same way that monogamy can fall apart.
Of course, because I don't trust you too.
I'm not sure why like that, but for me, I think we are friends now.
You're not friends.
I mean,
Me and Tarik always talk each other. But we talk in a normal conversation, yeah.
Now, it is strange that Tarik would continue to be friends with Minty, even though it clearly threatens Hazel. Even if there was a legitimate friendship there, which there very well could be, you would think that Tarik would at least put it on hold for a while to say, well, I want to build a strong relationship with Hazel. So it seems that Tarik is still kind of playing with those boundaries that he played with earlier in the season, which doesn't bode well. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.